will you bake Rubin a wedding cake? Okay, so I mean, my answer is.
Well, I'm married already.
Right, he's married already.
But an anniversary. It was my anniversary last week. An anniversary cake would have been nice.
Right. So the answer is no. And the reason I won't is because as a religious Jew, I do not participate in activities that I believe are sinful.
And he would have done it kosher, the whole thing, man.
Well, now I feel bad.
He would have done it for you.
You got me this close.
Putting that aside, you can't have David's kosher cake now. If we were having an anniversary party, would you come? If I was inviting all the crew that we all know, and we were just an anniversary party, we're just having a party, and I'll even throw in some kosher food for you to make sure you don't have to bring your own food.
You know, honestly, I'd have to think about it. I'd have to think about it in the same way.
So that's interesting to me, because that's a different thing.
Well, not really, because again, if you're a religious person, and again, take it from the religious perspective. From the religious perspective, the question is, are you glorifying something that you think is sinful?
Yeah. I think I may have moved you on coming to an anniversary party. What do you think about that?
I think there's a possibility. I mean, I'd have to think about that. Again, the issue, as you know, not to get back into well-trod territory. I think it would be unlikely that you'd move me, but I can never rule out the possibility of being moved on anything.
So in the past, I've made a couple videos about figures from marginalised groups who have sold out to the right, or often the far right as well. I did that whole video about the evolution of Milo Yiannopoulos and how he was positioning himself as an ex-gay Catholic and becoming this spokesperson for anti-gay American Catholics. And I think he now works for Marjorie Taylor Greene as an intern, bizarrely. But today I wanted to talk about this a bit more because you guys probably have seen there are multiple, I guess, lesbian, gay and bisexual groups that are now turning against transgender people. Therefore, there are more gay people cozying up with conservatives, of course not realising the lessons of history that the right are happy to use token conservatives to say, well, look, we're not bigoted. If this gay person is saying the same stuff as us, then you should listen to them. And we're not just saying anti-trans stuff because we're bigots, because look, members of the LGBT community, very select members, agree with us, and then they throw loads of money behind them to amplify their opinions even more. But it's actually pretty sad how far these gay conservatives, particularly Dave Rubin, have to fall and have to try and justify their own lives to these Republicans who will both never accept them and, of course, will turn against them. And the fact that some of these gay conservatives are really buying into the culture war against trans people right now blows my mind, especially because some of them are older, because the exact same arguments being used against trans people, saying they are predators or they are groomers, is the exact same shit conservatives used to say about gay people and gay men in particular. So of course it's even more sinister that they're just repeating a war against a different group of people in the exact same way which has been done against them. So in today's video, I kind of want to review some of these new clips about Dave Rubin and then talk about like how he's never really been accepted by conservatives. Then just talk about this larger grift of certain LGBT conservatives who are completely selling out for a paycheck essentially, and feel like that when conservatives eventually get power based on this hysterical culture war against LGBT people, that they will actually be spared. When, like I said, history tells us they won't. So all of that coming up for you in the video today. Please like the video, and in the comments, I guess the question is, who is the worst conservative grifter in terms of maybe they're a member of the LGBT community, like Dave Rubin, maybe the African American, like Candace Owens? So let me know in the comments, who do you think is actually the worst of these? Also check out my social media at the Kavernacle on Instagram, on Twitter. Also check out the subreddit down in the description. Also consider becoming a patron. I'm trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible. And the benefits of being a patron are getting access to my Nintendo Switch friend code, but also access to the Discord server. And as I am moving to Vietnam on Thursday, I'm going to be posting some exclusive videos on my Patreon. So if you care about any of that, if you care about supporting me, please check it out. Also check out my second channel. I've just posted my first reel about Jordan Peterson in Metal Gear Solid 5. And yeah, I guess that is everything out the way. So basically, the reason I want to make this video is because I've been seeing a lot of these Dave Rubin clips go viral. And I want to talk about some of his past, controversy, I guess, or viral clips where, Ben Shapiro said he wouldn't go to his anniversary party. He had a lot of conservatives reject him having a surrogate mother for 2 children that he is having with his husband. But firstly, I want to play this little clip from Newsmax, which shows Dave Rubin is attacking this kind of woke culture where most people who would agree with what he's saying would also hate him. And it's hilarious he doesn't actually realize this. So have a look at this clip quick.
They seem to think that if you can whittle us all down to the things that matter the least about us, and then we can combine those things, that then we will have something stronger. And of course, that's completely the reverse. Nobody watching this wants to be judged on whether they're white or black or gay or straight or able-bodied or disabled or anything else. These months that come and go, whether it's Pride Month or Disability Month or Disabled Pride Month or whatever, God knows what is next, they mean nothing other than this bizarre corporate virtue signaling, whether it's walking into Target and being slammed with he, him, her shirts. But this is what the left has left, and it's why so many people are seeing through the nonsense anymore. It's the complete reverse of what Martin Luther King would have wanted for his children, of course, being judged on the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. And we just have to keep pushing through because it's just going to get more bizarre. You showed that Kamala Harris clip, and it's like, try to imagine her in a meeting with, say, I don't know, President Xi from China, and saying what her pronouns are and what color pantsuit she's wearing. I don't speak Chinese, but I would imagine it would be pretty hilarious what he would whisper to the guy next to him.
So just generally attacking woke culture and acting like the people he's talking to on Newsmax don't actually care about things like skin color and, I don't know, if someone's gay or not, because newsflash, Dave, they actually do care. They actually hate people for differences like you're mentioning, and invoking like Martin Luther King is pretty hilarious, but he's happy enough to be this talking head to attack supposed woke culture and the tolerance of the LGBT community, because maybe in his enlightened brain he thinks that we're past the point of persecuting gay people in America and denying them basic civil rights. And I actually believe he may have used to have thought that conservatives are more tolerant than liberals about gay marriage, bizarrely. But there's no way he can believe it anymore, especially with what has been going on in places like Florida with this Don't Say Gay bill and loads of hysterical culture war attacks on the LGBT community, and of course like very real violent attacks on the LGBT community as part of his rhetoric. But even as recently as a couple weeks ago, he was telling Candace Owens that conservatives are tolerant of his lifestyle and his gay marriage and having children, and this is how naive he either is or he's just trying to convince himself they don't actually hate him for being gay. So here is him recounting his experience of going to Liberty University, which he also did in another clip, which I'm going to show you. So check this out.
I would say this. I like conservatives. I like hanging out with conservatives. I like debating conservatives. I never find a rude conservative. It's almost impossible to find. I get nothing but love from conservatives. I spoke at Liberty University, the largest evangelical conservative Christian college in America. I spoke in front of 14,000 people. You've done the exact same gig. These people know my views. They know I'm married to a man. I got a standing ovation. They couldn't have been nicer. I wandered around campus for a couple hours, people coming up to me saying all sorts of nice things. By the way, some people did come up to me and say, I'm praying for you. And I don't know if they meant that I'm praying for you, meaning I'm trying to pray the gay away, or I'm just praying like your continued success or whatever. But it would almost be irrelevant to me. Even if someone,
I'm praying the gay away, well, that's not offensive. If they're not saying I'm gonna,
club me over the head.
We're gonna put you somewhere you shouldn't be. I'm praying for you.
And by the way,
okay, I can deal with that.
Someone that comes up to you with a smile on their face and says a bunch of nice things and then says, and I'm praying for you.
Right.
That's actually a lot nicer than a progressive who will scream all day how much they love gay people and then will unleash endless hate on me because I don't bow to them. So, this is where this idea of tolerance and all of these things, I think broadly speaking, conservatives have done a really nice job in the last couple of years of cleaning up whatever those bad parts are. The point is that conservatives still often, I think, should take the libertarian approach on it, be okay with a state-by-state situation, but there's still a certain layer of conservatives that take a sort of more moral position on it, and that it's going to infect society. And by the way, I'm not trying to change those people's opinions. That's the part that I really want to tell you. I'm not here to do
change
that.
Yeah, it's funny.
I just want to carve out room on the same side.
Obviously, I can't talk. I'm not a gay man. But I don't know, someone coming up to me and telling me they are going to pray to their really homophobic God that they hope I go straight, and they are fundamentally praying so my whole life changes based on their very narrow view of morality and the world. I don't know, I'd find that quite offensive, and I wouldn't take it as a compliment, and I wouldn't take it as, oh, isn't this such a nice person? They're praying for me not to be who I actually am. And at this point, he's absolutely deluding himself, or he's just gotten very good at the grift that he thinks most conservatives tolerate him. They're using him. They've always been using him. That's why there isn't loads and loads of gay conservatives, because they don't want loads of gay conservatives. They want one or two, go out on Fox News and talk about how the left treat them bad. He's saying that the left say they love gay people, but then they hate him. Well, Dave, they don't hate you because you're gay, they hate you because you're conservative, and it's made worse by the fact that you are enjoying the privileges that many progressive gay people fought and died for, only to turn around and completely shit on that community. That's why they hate you. They don't hate you because you're a gay married man. Now, Michael Malice, this weird conservative anarchist, also asked Dave Rubin about this, and he actually kind of said, yeah, you are kind of like the token gay conservatives. Have a look at this clip quick.
There's this trope online, and I want to hear your thoughts about whether you think this is true, or I think there's a grain of truth to it, that you are like the token, that the conservatives will tolerate you, you serve a purpose, but they will never fully accept you, and as soon as you leave the room, it's like, look at that homophobic slur.
No. I don't believe it. I can't say that there is literally not one person that may feel that way, but I can tell you that Dennis Prager and his wife Sue are coming to my house for dinner tonight, as they come over often. I can tell you I've shared meals with Glenn Beck, millions of times, dozens, dozens of times, and all of these people. These people are just people, and some of them have gay brothers or lesbian sisters or a bisexual aunt, or whatever it might be. And what I have by and large found is that conservatives, and again, these words are all silly, and, conservatives, libertarians, just right-leaning, say more independent, individual thought people are so much more open than they're given credit for.
So Dave basically thinks because some conservative influencers and powerful people accept him being gay and his gay marriage, he thinks by and large, the conservative movement in America accept gay marriage. I'm happy for him that his good old buddy Dennis Prager had dinner with him. But some of his friends, like Ben Shapiro, are a bit more honest about what they think of his gay marriage and his gay relationship. Now, of course, with Dave Rubin, it's pretty hard to distinguish between if he believes it or if he's grifting. But I also think Dave should consider that if in his experience, people in the political world from the conservative side have been nicer to him, maybe he should think about why that is. It's not because you're a gay married man. They prefer you not be that. But it is also because you are a gay married man, they are nicer to you because they want to use you as a token gay conservative to shield themselves from very legitimate criticism about them being insanely homophobic. And now Dave Rubin has to go after the trans community like they all do. He has to play along, not realizing, or maybe realizing, that he is next. If the trans community are dealt with by law, then of course they're going for the gay community next. And of course, as you saw with the overturning of Roe, a lot of the people who overturned it on the Supreme Court also want to overturn gay marriage as well. Because that is the logical conclusion. Yes, you might not think they'll associate it with you because you're not a transgender person, but they will come for you and your gay marriage next. And speaking of gay marriage, he recently was doing a conference at National Conservatism. I don't know really what this is, but basically he's trying to make a conservative argument for gay marriage, basically saying that, well, gay people didn't used to have long-term relationships because they were ostracized and marginalized, and wouldn't you rather most gay people settling down, having a family, buying into family values. And then the guy on the panel next to him pretty much says straight up, he can't expect to have like the best version. He's going to have to settle. Because America is a Christian country. He can't have everything he wants. So have a look at this clip as well.
I know plenty of gay people that are horrified at what is coming out of the gay community now. I mean, truly horrified, because in many ways it's setting back a tremendous amount of progress. The progress of equality, the progress of, okay, you can enter the same contract that a heterosexual couple can, and now you can hopefully live a life that is sustaining. You know, it's ironic because there's a huge conservative argument, I think, actually, for gay marriage. I lived in West Hollywood in LA. It's sort of the gayest place on earth. I mean, the crosswalks are rainbow. It's too much, frankly. But there's nothing sadder to me than when you see, you know, this a 70-year-old guy that's spray tanned and fake hair. It sounds like Trump, but that's not what I mean. You know, that works out all day and carries his little dog and has nothing to live for other than that, and maybe being on the hunt still because he couldn't engage, because 50 years ago the world was very hostile to him, and couldn't then get in a relationship that would be the thing that conservatives would want, even if it wasn't exactly the relationship that conservatives would want. So I actually don't want those things taught. I think that Douglas could probably explain this a lot better. I mean, the T thing has completely just dysregulated the entire conversation here. But I think in many cases, it's like we have to be able to separate. When you're talking about that carve-out, we have to have that carve out. And I would say I would be a little worried. I'm still a little worried. Yeah.
Of course you're worried, because what I'm asking you to do is to be willing to consider. I mean, I'm talking in a dialogue, in a negotiation, but to be willing to consider something other than the maximal dream scenario.
Yes, I fully accept that.
In order to give the Christian majority the possibility of running a Christian society in Christian areas. Right?
Not only do I accept that, I will be very clear, I would strongly prefer that public schools teach the Old Testament and the New Testament rather than drag queen story hours.
So that clip there is part of the reason I'm not sure if Dave Rubin is just grifting or if he genuinely believes this. Because it seems like he's trying to make a case to these people based on, I don't know, libertarian grounds, more traditional grounds, that gay marriage should be something that conservatives embrace. And he seems like that is what he genuinely believes. And he thinks actually that in his own little bubble of rich LA conservatives and now Florida conservatives, that most conservatives would be okay with this. Like, even if they don't necessarily agree with it, they'll be okay with it. And the guy sitting next to him is like, well, you can't have everything. You got to accept that Christian people get to rule their parts of the world as Christians do, and therefore gay marriage is not compatible with that. And him just saying like, yeah, I'd prefer the Old Testament and the New Testament taught in schools rather than drag queen story hour. Dave, you know better than most people, as someone who used to be a big atheist, that the Old Testament is part of the ideological justification for oppressing gay people around the world. Lots of places in the world didn't used to be homophobic before missionaries and Christians got there and indoctrinated the local population in Christianity, which made them homophobic. It happened in places like China, of course, which had emperors that had gay relationships up until like the 1600s. One of the more unique features of Abrahamic religion is that it's ideologically very homophobic compared to some of the other religions which either don't have it clearly stated or actually don't care. So Dave, if more people were taught the Old Testament in school, then that's more people who won't agree with your whole life. They won't agree with you being gay. They certainly won't agree with you being gay married. And 100% they would never tolerate you having children. And maybe he sees himself as the figure that could finally convince these conservatives that all of this stuff is okay, but I highly, highly doubt that. Now, Dave Rubin has, of course, had this backlash before, because back in March, he announced he was going to be a father, he was going to have children with his husband, and a lot of conservative media personalities and outlets were happy for him, because they're all rich and maybe they don't fully believe this bigotry, although they push it all the time for money. But most run-of-the-mill conservatives thought it was terrible that he was doing this. I just want to play you a little bit of my coverage from back in March. Because Dave Rubin is like, you know, one of these right-wing Star Wars nerds who seemingly misses the whole point of Star Wars. It's true, all of it. I guess that's a reference to Han Solo's line in The Force Awakens, one of the worst Star Wars movies. Immediately, one of the replies is, how does this help us win the culture war? Then PragerU saying, congrats, Rubin report. So like I said, a lot of these outlets support him. Then Mark Dice, another conservative influencer, saying, from marriages between a man and a woman to this in just a few years, to PragerU, Blaze TV, obviously he's very affiliated with them. Congratulations. Also, wow. Another comment, what happened to your Judeo-Christian values? Do you think Moses would be sending out congratulations if he was living today? They say to PragerU, Dave Rubin. Congratulations on doing whatever you think is right in your own eyes without considering the cost to the children, the mother or society. Shameful, Prager. Appalling. Now I turn to look meaningfully at everyone. I warned that Dennis Prager was not as deep or sound a thinker as he insisted he was. PragerU would be considered radical left 20 years ago. Wow, is it all just about politics to you? This is morally reprehensible. It's a sinful rebellion against God's design. Remember when conservatives were against everything they support 5 to 10 years ago? Seriously, Dennis Prager thinks designer babies, intentionally separating children from their mother and womb rental is okay. Just lost a ton of followers. I must say, as an avid Prager supporter, I am befuddled by the support. I like Rubin too, but just as I don't celebrate out of wedlock births, I cannot congratulate this either. So Dave Rubin very much wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to live a life which he's been allowed to live based on the rights fought by the LGBT community for decades and decades, while continuously shitting on them and helping conservatives attack them. And he even had to go on Glenn Beck to try and like grovel before Glenn, to try and make him accept that he was going to be a father.
I get why the right has these, what I would argue are often legitimate fears, because the left does not stop eating civilization.
Correct.
And think about what an unfortunate position that puts us in, because then someone like me can make an announcement like this, then good, decent, thoughtful conservatives, some of faith, maybe some not of faith, whatever it is, could reach out and say, boy, this is what an interesting opportunity, and sure, it's a little different, and whatever, all the love that you and the Blaze guys and everyone else are giving me. And then there's this other part that's legit, which is, uh-oh, if we move the line, they're gonna keep going. And I don't know what the answer to that is.
Dave.
I honestly don't, because that has nothing to do with me and how I'm gonna live my life.
I think, and this is why I wanted to have you on, because I don't have an answer. I am, you know me, I am a deeply religious man, and my religion says man and a woman, that is the basic building block of family. We have to just work it out together and be able to say, Dave, I disagree, or I don't know what the answer is, but I love you.
So nice and classy there for Dave Rubin to attack the left, and mainly the LGBT left, that won these rights for Dave Rubin, to then say, well, they'll keep pushing the line forward, and then who knows where we'll end up. Dave, you have far surpassed the line of acceptability for most conservatives. Being married to another guy, having children with that guy as well. Do you think most conservatives don't already consider that crazy? And you're talking about like drag queen story hour and how crazy the left are. They associate all of those things together. To them, it doesn't matter if you are a gay married man, or if you're a drag queen, or if you're a transgender person. They think you are all predators trying to groom their children. That's exactly what they think of you, just because your rights have been enshrined in law for longer than maybe other groups, and maybe you aren't as marginalized as this gay man than a trans woman or something, doesn't mean they don't think of you in the exact same way. So essentially what Dave Rubin is just a useful idiot for the right. Happy enough, of course, to sell out for millions upon millions of dollars, buying like mansions and stuff like that. Of course, he's probably happy with that. But I find it funny and sad that he thinks he can convince most run-of-the-mill conservatives to accept him, because they will never accept him. While some more young conservatives may accept you, as it seems like some do, even people like Glenn Beck there saying, part of my religion, don't agree with gay marriage. If your use runs out, or if it's more politically viable for them to turn on you, they will do it 100% because they don't really care about you. They don't care about gay people. They don't like gay people. They don't like gay married dudes in particular, especially with children. And it's just insane that Dave Rubin somehow, I think, has convinced himself that conservatives are more tolerant. He's been saying this for years. He's been saying it's conservatives that are more tolerant of me being a gay married dude. And even when people like Ben Shapiro literally say to his face they don't agree with it and they wouldn't come to like his anniversary party or barbecue, he's still convinced that it's actually conservatives that are more tolerant than left-wing people and the LGBT community at large. And he loves to conflate them hating him for being gay and maybe even hating him for being a gay conservative. I don't think most people hate him necessarily for being a gay conservative. It's more that he uses his position of influence to attack the most marginalised and attack the people just like him who the right hate just as much, just for a paycheck and just for a comfier lifestyle. While Dave might be the most famous example of this, he isn't the only one. There are plenty of gay people now who are trying to grift off the massive war against trans people. We're basically saying like, yeah, we're against them as well. We don't agree with transgender people either, thinking they will be exempt. So I just want to go through this Twitter account called GAYS Against Groomers before talking about Ernst Rohm, who was the leader of the brown shirts, who was an open gay man, and guess what happened to him when Hitler and Himmler thought he wasn't useful anymore? Oh yeah, they killed him and quickly brought in very strict laws against gay men. Because if fascist Republicans have their way, they will enact laws against gay people as well. And Dave Rubin, they would not spare you. So yeah, the GAYS Against Groomers Twitter account describes itself a coalition of gays against sexualizing, indoctrinating, and medicalization of children. Allies welcome. If you go on their website, our community that once preached love and acceptance of others has been hijacked by radical activists who are now pushing extreme concepts onto society, specifically targeting children. The overwhelming majority of gay people are against what the community has transformed into, and we do not accept the political movement pushing their agenda in our name. The activists backed by school boards, governments, woke media, and corporations have been speaking on our behalf for too long. When fighting for equality, our goal was to successfully integrate ourselves into society, but now these radicals aim to restructure it entirely in order to accommodate a fringe minority, as well as seek to indoctrinate children into their ideology. There are millions of gays within the community that want nothing to do with the alphabet religion and join the fight with parents and concerned people everywhere to protect children. We also aim to return sanity and reclaim the community we also called our own. The gay community is not a monolith. Those pushing this agenda do not represent or speak for us all, nor do we want to be associated with them in any way. What we are witnessing is mass-scale child abuse being perpetuated on an entire generation, and we will no longer sit by and watch it happen. So of course this fascist account has been banned multiple times, ran by someone called Jamie Michelle, who is a based lesbian apparently. He goes on all the far-right media outlets like Newsmax and Fox News, and is obviously just another grifter who is trying to cash in on the marginalisation of trans teens or just trans people in general. But anyway, people like Jamie, Dave Rubin, and a whole host of others, they should look to history for an example of someone who helped fascists get into power, thinking they'd make an exception for him when they didn't. So just two articles I want to share with you. Ernst Rohm, the highest ranking gay Nazi. Rohm was Hitler's right-hand man, the leader of the brown shirts, the Nazi paramilitary wing, instrumental in the rise of the party via the street fighting and extrajudicial murders of the late 20s and 30s. Rohm's sexual orientation was no secret after the mid-20s. Hitler either ignored it or said it was immaterial, depending on who he was talking to, including other Nazis. Rohm opposed his party's stand on paragraph 175 of the German Penal Code, which made homosexual acts illegal. This made some German gay people think he might ultimately tone down the Nazi stance, but this was always wishful thinking, but became especially moot after 1934's Night of the Long Knives, when Rohm and others were massacred as Hitler consolidated power. As Eleanor Hancock explains, Rohm, his face scarred from World War I wounds, stressed a hypermasculinity to counteract contemporary views of being gay as feminine. A veteran, Rohm attached paramount importance to the values of militarized masculinity. This aligned with Nazi views of the homosocial Männerbund, such all-male organizations of warrior comrades, were supposed to be united under the banner of discipline and order against the threatening waves of the bourgeoisie, women, Jews, socialists, Bolsheviks, all of whom represented weakness, chaos and disorder. Hancock says he challenged the privileging of heterosexual over gay masculinities. If Rohm's masculinity reassured some Nazis, it threatened others. Him being an open gay man may have threatened the psychological security of some other National Socialists, creating a form of male gay panic. But even before Rohm was murdered, the Nazis had begun cracking down on being gay, banning organisations, burning books, and arresting the first of some 100,000 people. Around 15,000 gay people were sent to concentration camps, where some were experimented upon in bizarre efforts to find a cure for their sexual orientation. And I read this somewhere, but I forgot where it was. He also thought that gay Nazis could be like some sort of militarized vanguard, and he thought of himself as like the ancient Thebians, gay Greek warriors who of course were very good soldiers and actually defeated the Spartans as well. Another group of ancient warriors that were actually often gay as well. And Sparta was obviously the blueprint for Nazi Germany. So Eleanor Hancock, who wrote this book about him, also gave quotes to a Haaretz article. Colleagues in the Nazi party had known about him being gay since the mid-20s, and Hitler was aware of him too. In 1932, Rohm offered to resign his position so as not to be a detriment to the party, but Hitler rejected the idea. And after the Nazis rose to power in 1933, Hitler found it necessary to defend Rohm against his critics and noted that him being gay was of no relevance. Hitler thus appointed Rohm to the powerful position of Brown Shirt's commander, knowing that he was gay, but without affecting the Nazis' general anti-gay stance. Hitler thought that if he ignored the whole subject, it would be forgotten. So I think that's a very, very fascinating case study of what happens when you think you can be accepted by reactionary fascist movements and think you will be spared. Like the article said, even Hitler didn't really give a shit. He knew Rohm was gay before he appointed him the leader of the Brown Shirts. It wasn't much of a big deal to Hitler himself, but when it came to it and he realised that a lot of Nazis and Germans hated gay people and that some people in his own party like Himmler, they hated gay people, then Rohm was expendable, and who really gave a shit about him? And once he was gone, and once they consolidated their power, they expanded on the Social Democrats' anti-gay legislation, made it way worse, and sent thousands and thousands of gay people to concentration camps. In the case of Rohm, though, Hitler liked him for everything outside of him being gay. Like, he liked him as this militiaman, this ex-soldier who could run the fascist paramilitary wing. Where in the case of Dave Rubin, they pretty much only pay him the big bucks because he's gay and they want to use him as part of their agenda and as some sort of shield and cover to criticism that they actually hate gay people. But the similarities are that just like with Rohm, they won't be loyal to him. He won't be spared. If they get into power, there is going to be new laws against the LGBT community. They're probably going to try and roll back gay marriage. So it'd actually be illegal in many places in America for Dave Rubin to actually just exist as himself. But he is helping them with this, thinking that he can either change their mind or they won't turn on him. But just like with Rohm in the 1930s and the Night of the Long Knives, they will turn on Dave Rubin eventually. And even if he convinces himself that, you know, my conservative media buddies are tolerant, the general populace of conservatives in America are not tolerant. They're hateful. The Republican Party has basically gone full mask of fascist. They are not going to accept gay people by and large, even if they tolerate you for years and years to come. So that is it for the video, talking about why gay conservatives sell out and how they justify it to themselves. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Leave a like on the video, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.